why go open source when most companies in this space lock things up?
It builds trust, it builds reach to your community. It's much easier to reach to influencers who have bigger audience. There are a lot of companies that wouldn't even talk to you if you're not open source.
There will be more product, more code, there will be more open source, more proprietary, because we will try to automate everything which was not even possible before to automate.
Agents are taking over the internet. People would more interact with the agents, which are like a user personal agent. And the agents, they hate user interfaces. Agents want APIs. Two implications here is that we want to deliver infrastructure to those who want to build products, and we even want to deliver API for agents.
I want to understand if there's a reason why we will see more open source software because of AI.
I think we will have just more coding, more products, and more open source, more proprietary, more of anything.
When you think about the value capture using open source, how do you think about it? Like how does it become a financially sustainable business?
Build AI, push the limit. Conversations with no gimmick. Tech and juice collide in sync. That you're on, don't stop to think.
Welcome to another episode of Build AI podcast, where we talk to people who are building in the AI space. Today I have Dmitry Grankin. Thanks, Dmitry, for joining us from Lisbon, Portugal.
Thanks, Amit, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to know right off the bat that how did you get into the AI space and specifically what you're building in the meeting notes and transcription space?
Yeah, I've been working as data scientist since 2018. I had a decent career before, but since 2018 I was playing around with machine learning, with neural nets, and a couple of years ago I decided that it's time to build something that people want, and went into the venture. And I went to Unclear, which is a startup incubator here in Lisbon, and there the idea of a meeting assistant appeared back in late 2023. And so build a prototype, I got a few customers there, then raised from a pre-seed round, build the product. A year passed since that time, and I thought to myself, why not actually open source what I've been doing? Why? Because I've been like software developer, machine learning practitioner, and I've been using open sources all the time. Just everything I build is on top of open source, of another open source project or product. And I started to look at commercial open source products that are on the market, and actually found that it's a great commercial idea. It's a business move. Why is that? Because it builds trust. It builds reach. It gives you a community. It's much easier marketing, and it brings super users, not just those who try your product, and whether use your product or would not use your product, less normal proprietary products. Is the major issue is that it's actually a problem. It's a big problem how you actually get a feedback from users. With the open source, it's like a very genuine and very deep feedback is what you get from figure out that.
Right. No, this is great introduction. And I was reading about your company Vexa.ai. It says open source API for real-time meeting transcription. And I think sometimes the essence of what a founder's vision is and what they are really trying to solve, sometimes, it does not come out. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was the moment which made you decide that let me solve this problem and that this is a big enough problem?
Yeah, the problem where we just starting with that was very early time for making transcript, for making a system, and it was clear to me that people were spending a lot of time online on online meetings, and they continue to do so. And the market is growing for meeting assistants ever since. But yet actually the infrastructure part of it is something that is really interesting to me right now, because the number of products of competition, the competition is growing really fast in this market, and it's actually very tough to deliver something on a B2C in the B2C space, because it requires a lot of user experience job. But I myself not believe in the UI in the long run. Why? Because agents are taking over the internet, and people would probably, my vision is that people would more and more interact with the agents, which are like user personal agent. And the agents, they hate user interfaces. Agents want APIs. So there can, again, of these two implications here is that we want to deliver infrastructure to those who want to build products, and we even want to deliver API for agents.
Right. And it's absolutely right. Like there's so much of, traction in the whole sort of AI meeting assistants. One, there were a lot of traditional players like Fireflies and Otter and so on who already exist in the market. Now they're trying to go niche into verticals as well. For example, Fireflies, I think, recently announced something for wealth advisors or financial advisors as well. And then there are each segment, I think, like wealth advisors have their own set of players. And then, every other field, like, clinics and medical field has their own set of, meeting. And so underlying all this, either people are building on their own, or they are basically using one of the infrastructure APIs providers like you or Recall or, what have you. So that's how I understand the landscape, right? Is that correct?
Yes, it looks like this. And my vision is that your agent would probably be able to solve your specific problem much better than any product that is any niche product. If you have like Anthropic model, OpenAI model, if you have all three, which has direct access to your meeting transcripts, that will work much better than whatever a niche product you are delivering. So because the AI is general in this sense right now.
Yeah. So that's very interesting, actually. I'm just trying to understand it. So let's say somebody like Firefly, Otter, or one of these players who are mass market, consumerish players they started with and now going vertical, they would be building it as a proprietary vertical stack. So everything from the infrastructure to the final meeting transcription and all of that is like, it's like one set of tools or APIs they have picked. But what you are saying is that maybe let's disassociate it into two parts. One is a bot joins the meeting, let's say a Google Meet or something, and records. And then the second, you can use Claude or OpenAI or any of the models to do the actual transcription. And maybe there is another agent which does what you specify. So you are saying like it's better to dismantle this and build it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Because there is a protocol, an MCP protocol, Model Context Protocol, open source and developed by, and it's gaining traction. Why? Because basically, for now, you can connect Claude desktop, you can connect Cursor, Windsurf to any source of tool, to any source of information. And my vision is that like every assistant will have access to this MCP servers, and it's another topic to discuss. Great topic to discuss about how this will actually work, because MCP doesn't solve all the problems here. The tool search problem, like a Google of tools, is something very interesting to discuss here. But basically, there'll be an agent, there'll be an user interface, my own interface, your own interface, which will do the best job for you. And there will be the internet of tools, of APIs, of MCP servers, and there will be something, a search in between of those, some a Google of tools in between of the internet of APIs and the agent. And those APIs will kind of probably develop themselves because APIs is much easier, simpler thing than the contemporary consumer product, which is all about the human behavior, like psychology, and you basically just get rid of all this stuff. You just build the API, which is a really simple thing, which AI essentially is building for you right now, and will be doing more and more. And you got this your personal assistant and an ecosystem of tools.
Right. Super interesting. So I think we'll come back to this point of how, the future looks like, but those sort of initial inputs are very interesting. I want to switch gears and go back to what you were talking about earlier, that your product is open source, right? So that's a bold move. But my question is, just to understand it a little bit more, why go open source when most companies in this space lock things up?
Yeah, there are a few very serious implications here. You are trading off something that you always, like any decision is a trade-off. And what you get is traction, because it's much easier to market an open source product. It's much easier to reach to influencers who have bigger audience with an open source product. It's about trust. If your product is about it may serve companies, enterprises, then there are a lot of companies that wouldn't even talk to you if you're not open source. Yeah, this too is already enough. But it's in terms of funding an open source product, it becomes is a transparent thing. It's transparent not only from the code base is open, but also all the community is basically transparent as open. So open source company is as transparent, or maybe even more transparent than say Google, Microsoft, public companies, which you can go trade stock exchange. And it's basically, in terms of funding, it's much easier to get funding. That's the point. Yeah, what's the downsides to it is that you basically will probably compete with your own product. You'll compete with your code. You'll compete with those who deploy your code as a competitor. Yeah, but let's be honest. It's like competition is a real problem in the startup world at all. The competition, it wasn't the major thing. Not the major problem. The major problem is the lack of feedback and the connection to the market, the lack of information, like the bandwidth of information flow between you and the market.
Right. Very interesting. I think when you talk about open source, there are a few things that come to my mind. For example, the users, as you were also talking about earlier, the users are fairly technical. They hack their way into different types of use cases, and they are like power users. Is there a use case or thing that your user have built which totally surprised you? Like you were not expecting somebody to do something that crazy?
Yeah, let's be clear. The product is the open source version of Vexa.ai is very early stage right now.
Okay.
So basically, I have open sourced the proprietary product like about a month ago. Then I got some feedback, understood that people basically just don't have an idea of what to do with it. And they basically told me, we want API. We want a simple API. And then I realized we have Recall, proprietary product, which is basically doing what people are asking me to do here. And I know that Recall is doing really, really well. So basically, why not just open source and not make the open source API for meeting bot to real-time transcription thing? So I've built this product, and basically Today I plan to release 0.3 version of this product, which will be a public beta.
Okay.
So we will see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. And from a product and technology perspective, can you share that what is under the hood that makes your products special or superior than what exists in the market?
It's low latency or real time.
Okay.
Low latency real time transcription built into the pipeline. So like Recall is doing is making this bots and streaming audio, and then they pipe into other feed providers, which is do it everything in one place. We get rid of video for now, just concentrate on like Google Meet as an input, and next Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So we got this bot input and got instantaneous output as a transcription or translation, which is a cool implication of it, because you can set any language and it will do real-time translation for you from one language to another real time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So even at Guy Ventures, one of the products we have like transcription of meetings, and on the surface, then we realize that on the surface it sounds very easy until you have to do it at scale, and there are so many accents and jargons and privacy concerns. I wanted to ask you, since you are focused on this space, that what is the hardest technical challenge that you have cracked?
The hardest thing is that probably you need to scale, and the thing is that you need to do it right to make it scalable. So I've been undergoing this paradigm shifts for many times in a row, and now I think I'm doing things right, because it's like it's scalable. It's Kubernetes is in mind. So for now, it's product in development in a single server, but it's been done right, so that will be just thrown into the cloud and do auto scale itself. So to answer your question, yeah, the hardest thing is to know how to do things right, and AI makes it easier now, because you start concentrate on system design from the very early stage of the product, on the system design, not on the code, not how to build a prototype, but because prototypes will be built really easily.
Yeah.
You start thinking on the scale as someone who has a product with the thousands, tens of thousands, and millions of users in mind.
And I keep thinking about the open source nature of your business, and as an entrepreneur myself, building a business and trying to find what is sustainable, profitable growth. How do you just enlighten us and the audience that when you think about the value capture using open source, how do you think about it? How does it become a financially sustainable business?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Any open source product, you have to spend some resources to deploy and to manage the deployment. If you deliver this ready to go, and it's simpler and cheaper to use your SaaS product instead of deploying your code, they'll go and use it. And you're the best person to know how to do it at scale.
And then, but how does your company? I'm trying to understand what are the revenue streams for your company as you sort of grow.
For now, we don't have any streams of revenue, but basically, as soon as I deliver production API, they are ready to pay for it, because there is no free transcription available on the market, and it's really very expensive. I can make it 3 times less expensive. If you use a Recall, you'll pay about $1 per hour and another 30 cents for transcription. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to deliver at least a third of this price.
So basically, I'm trying to understand, so it is open source in the sense that you don't charge any monthly recurring fees or anything, and you don't charge for certain things, and then you are going to charge for transcription. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that you have a choice whether you want to deploy it yourself and run it yourself for free, but actually you'll need an infrastructure, you'll need GPUs for that, you'll need Steam, you need someone to deploy this and maintain, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, like, otherwise, you can just grab an API key and start using it right away and pay as you go. And
Right.
it will scale, it will scale with you, but you'll always know that as soon as you're big enough, you'll be able to deploy it yourself. So you'll feel very flexible. You'll feel free to go and deploy it yourself when you are ready. If it ever happened that you want to switch to your own deployment, but yeah, that's the nature of open source. You're trading off this.
Right. That's what I wanted to confirm, that typically open source businesses, like, you give out the core functionality, the API, whatever is there, and then basically people will pay you for implementation, maintenance, support, etc. So that's the same model that you are following.
Yeah, maybe like the first idea is for revenue source I have is the API, is the public API, and then we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I don't know.
Got it. Got it. Do you think, like, somebody had asked me this question, that with AI and, with all the vibe coding and people being able to build products easily, even the business folks, and then, like, you can test it out in the market. There, people are now talking about vibe marketing and vibe sales and so on and so forth. The question is that, do you think, like, there will be a new, the open source, the whole sort of software movement will actually grow for some reason? Like, I want to understand if there's a reason why we will see more open source software because of AI. Are there any reasons like that, or you think otherwise?
I think we'll have just more coding, more products, and more open source, more proprietary, more of anything, because you have a kind of fixed number of software developers. You have a lot of newcomers, and you have more people, and you have more code, because a single person can produce 10, 20, 100 times more code. And that's actually one of the reasons why I decided that they should go open source, because there's no moat and technological moat anymore.
Right.
You basically, whatever you're building right now, in months, anyone could just wipe it. Just in 6 months, you'll probably be able to wipe Vex just with one prompt. I don't know. It might be the case, but I'll establish community now, and you would need to wipe Vex. You'll just clone it, and you'll enhance it, and you'll contribute it back.
Right. Super interesting. I also like the framework that you are using here. Like, on one side, there's an argument of optimization. Like, people say, because of AI, a lot of people are going to lose jobs and so on and so forth. But then there's a second school of thought, which I subscribe to, which is the maximization framework, which says, like, exactly what you said. Like, there'll be more product, more code, there'll be more open source, more proprietary, because, like, we will try to automate everything which was not even possible before to automate. As an example, I have been looking at speech to text for a very long time, since the Nuance days. And, then Google machine learning models came and did about 95, 96% accuracy. Till then, it was not possible to have, like, commercial applications. Now with LLMs, when we have reached like 99.99% or maybe even 100% very soon, then now you can think about, like, commercial applications like medical transcription, wealth advisors using this. And so now imagine, like, there are thousands of such unlocks and new use cases which will get figured out over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I think we've been there many times, especially as human beings. Technological shifts in the 19th century and earlier, industrialization. We adapt, like, as an ecosystem. We adapt to whatever comes next. And we'll have more of the product, which is a good thing. So Why should we care whether we'll have to? Obviously, people will lose their jobs, but hopefully they'll find new ones with a better productivity factor.
Right. It's very interesting. Okay. All right. So since you are, early stage startup, I think there's a lot of lessons people can also learn, regarding like team structure, culture, just the lessons like all of us learn, as founders. I wanted to ask some of those as well. Everybody goes through their own journey and have a bunch of learnings that, we can all share. So one thing we have seen, like I was asking my CTO co-founder, who is also grew up just like you in the machine learning era, and did a lot of AI research, has published papers, and now is doing commercial applications. He says that now the team looks very different. Like my technology, like his technology team, our technology team is very different from the previous startup that he did 5 years back. I wanted to ask you, like, how has your team changed in the way like it looks and the way it works after the advent of AI?
Yeah, a good question. Yeah, when I raised pre-seed fund, I hired a team of professionals, like 7 people. Like I had a couple of front-end engineers, a back-end engineer, a QA, and someone was taking care of agile things, Scrum. And we've been building this proprietary product, so like daily meetings, Scrum meetings, all this stuff. But that was less than a year ago. And now I don't have any permanent team at all, because the things that we've been making last year with all these people, I can easily do myself. Easily, like any front end thing, which I don't know how to do a front end coding at all. I have no idea how it works. I cannot read the code almost. I just wipe the front end easily now.
Okay. Well, what tool? I'm curious. Like, what tool do you use for front end? And
Yeah, I start with V0 to get just an initial thing, the latest stack, and continue in Cursor as usual, and it works perfectly well right now. With Gemini 2.5 latest model, it works amazing.
right, cool. Okay. And yeah, so you were describing, like, so basically you had a full team and now you are able to do everything, front end, back end, DevOps, infrastructure, everything yourself, and of course the AI components as well.
Yeah, I have a few people who contribute to the open source thing, but I think about 90% I'm doing myself. About 90%. It's what I'm doing myself now.
There's one question though that I wanted to ask you, like, so vibe coding is great. We are all, we don't have to have like big teams to build great stuff anymore. But then recently, like in one of the occasions, one of our engineers said, like, he was working for 5 days and then he shipped something and it started working, but then there were lots of issues that suddenly came up, not very critical issues. And then we went back and checked and basically said that Cursor had made a lot of like logical issues in the code.
Yeah.
Does that happen? Like, is that common?
Absolutely, it's very common. The thing is that the danger is that you become lazy. Is that they just go ahead and fix this and that. This shouldn't happen. It's still a tough work. I say it's like riding a crazy horse. Like I've been walking, like switch from normal walk to riding a horse, a crazy one. You can get faster to whatever place, but it's tough to keep it on track. So you need to be very dedicated to know what you're doing, where you're going, how you want exactly things to be, what's the design you are implementing, what's the system design, what's the algorithm, actually not the code, but the algorithm that you're implementing. That's something very, very important. And still things happen, like duplicate code appears here and there, stupid things, because this thing struggles to keep on track, and you struggle to keep it on track. But basically that's the only job here is to keep this thing doing what you need.
Interesting. I like that wild horse analogy. So basically, you have to learn to train it in every respect, so it's not dangerous to ride it, even though you may have to. It can go faster. Just a couple of very quick last questions. One, what is like the biggest mistake or painful lesson that you have learned, as a founder?
Yeah, the biggest mistake was that I never considered open sourcing the things I've been doing for that years. Now I think that you should, like, the default mode is that you open source what you are doing, the default. And why? Because I had a few amazing products that I would just didn't have a clear idea of how to put it on market. Now they just outdated. But if those were open source, they would get traction. Like, for example, I was playing with Clip model, which is image to text model, like in late 2021, beginning of 2022, and we've been, we had a question on how to store this large amount of vectors and search, not in the memory, but some kind of database. And then we understood that we need some kind of vector database, and we found those very early stage vector databases. Everybody is now using vector databases.
Right.
Those times, these things would also start to come to existence. And if I would open source that development back in 2012, beginning 2022, that would be a success. I'm pretty sure about it. So go open source everything you're doing as a default state.
Right. So this is great. I think it was very interesting talking to you, especially given that you're building an infrastructure API space. As a background, I actually, as an angel investor, I invested about 30 companies. 22 of them were financial infrastructure API companies. And, one thing I've seen is that there will be a lot of consumer apps and consumer companies will come and fail. But then there are these infrastructure companies which are powering all of the entire market. And, these are like great B2B businesses. And so, congratulations on both picking this space as well as open source. And I wish you all the best in your journey. Thank you so much for your time, Dmitry, today. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you very much, Matt. There was a very deep, incredible conversation. It was a lot of pleasure talking to you.